all winter long, we're gonna be grazing cows. If you're wondering, okay, how are you gonna graze cows throughout the winter? That's why this guy's here. You guys may remember Eli, he's been on the channel before. He's here today with the Kencove crew, and we're filming a really, really awesome video. This is gonna help you guys save money. We're gonna talk about stockpile grazing, so less money on hay bales all winter long, and also we're gonna talk about bale grazing. Basically, the benefits of grazing your cows all winter long. Eli's gonna show us how it's done.
We're gonna show you different ways to do it depending on what your context is and what you need to accomplish, and some of the benefits you might see at soil surface or even building soil as you do so.
So let's dive in. We got some work to do. Eli's gonna help me work today. This is great.
That's right.
Let's get to work. Now Eli, you're not just a YouTube schmo like myself. You got some cred here. Tell everybody who's watching your expertise in grazing, in all the stuff we're going to talk about today.
Sure. So I do graze on my own farm. I've been working with the Savory Institute. I just finished up my accredited professional course with them. So I'll be doing a lot more hands-on, hands in the dirt, visiting farms, doing some consulting, and really just diving deep into the grazing world. And so winter is cool because it's not just a wasted season. You know, it's not just to sit on our hands and wait for the next growth to happen. There are things we can be doing now to continue that growth and really give us a boost in the spring when things kick back up again.
One of the things I was most excited about moving to Pennsylvania, back at our old homestead in Connecticut, winter came and we spent a fortune on hay. Because we had not enough pasture as it was, and then winter we had zero pasture. When we moved here, we have a couple acres that we can actually rotationally graze throughout the summer, spring, summer, fall. And one of the things I was super excited about was the idea of saving some pasture, stockpiling for winter, because I knew right away it would help save money. Eli, stockpile grazing. People may have heard this, maybe not. What is stockpile grazing?
Sure. Stockpile grazing is setting aside of forage or areas of a property for grazing at a later date, mostly for the intent of winter. You know, when other forages have dropped off, it's going to be a safety net of sorts.
Benefits, you know, off the top of your head of stockpile grazing. Why would somebody even want to bother?
It's forage that's already there that you're not paying for. You know, it's something that already grew. You're not out there buying the first 50 bales because you have X acres already set aside for grazing. Yeah,
that's the one. That was a big one for me. What do people need to do if they want to save some money, spend less on hay throughout the winter time, you know, take advantage of what they have? What do they need to think about? What do they need to plan ahead for stockpile grazing?
I would say some of the things you're going to need to take into consideration would be a stocking rate. So doing some experimenting, having your animals out there, figuring how much forage you actually have, how far in the year can we get this, you know, and it might not be a year one you've got this thing down. You know, you're probably going to have a couple seasons under your belt before you really know what's possible and what's not. And as you see multiple winters unfold, you know, different ways. So getting a stocking rate that I think is going to work for your property, and then timing is going to be the next biggest thing. Stockpile, for anybody that's unfamiliar, is just, in a very basic sense, is going to be forage set aside. You know, we're setting this aside for a later date. So instead of making that continuous lap as maybe you have planned or mapped out, we're going to set a chunk aside, maybe following a late winter graze or something like that, something that has a chance to grow through the fall. Because if we just don't touch something all year, it's going to get really old and mature, and you're going to lose some of that nutrition. And different, you know, different palatability goes with all that. So the time of year that you're going to set a piece aside so that it can grow and be in a little bit more vegetative state instead of mature and old by the time you get to it in winter. So probably stocking rate and just timing.
Got it. Midsummer, we started setting this area here aside. We didn't mow it. We weren't running animals through it. We kept this for our stockpile. How does it look to you, Eli? What is someone looking for to tell them, yeah, there's actually some feed here that I can put my animals on throughout the winter?
Sure. I mean, so basically we're looking at volume. This is going to be a little bit context specific based on what species are here. You know, some species are going to stockpile really well and some not. But we're looking for volume, obviously, and then we can look at some nutrition value here. Another consideration is snowfall. Like, we've had some fairly mild winters for the most part.
That's one of the reasons we were looking into this, because the last couple winters have been so mild, grass is still green.
Right. So now, like, I think forecast here recently for Sunday, there's chance of like a 7 to 10 inch, depending on where you're at.
Could have ruined my stockpile.
You know, so an area kind of like this, if you get buried under snow, they might not be rooting around for this. They might have given up on this and they're looking for the hay, they're ready for that. Something like this back here might stand a better chance of actually holding up to snow compression or some insulation underneath because the snow's capped over top.
I can see right here, I mean, peeling this back, we got, dead brown, but I mean, there's still green grass growing through here.
Yep.
Height-wise, I mean, you look at that, we got almost a foot of growth there. Someone just setting a piece aside later summer, early fall, and trying to get, a foot of growth. Is that a good just kind of starter basic formula for stockpiling?
I would say, yeah. And as things get taller, even if they get wind blown and laid over, there's still some protection there. This is kind of lumped over, but you can see this, if you would fluff this up, we're talking about stuff that was this tall, So that's kind of what you want. You want to get that volume. You want to set it aside. You want to try to keep it at a nutritional state that's still going to be beneficial. Not too old, not too old and mature, but yeah. So one of the things that a big buzzword for grazing is overgrazing, and there's a lot of different thoughts about what that is. So in the Savory Institute, we talk about overgrazing as remaining in a paddock too long and the plant is trying to regrow from that root energy and you still graze it. Okay, now we might have stunted it or harmed that root structure. Coming back to it too soon, if you're rotating through pastures and you come back while that plant hasn't fully recovered, that's overgrazing. It could also be returning to a spring pasture when it's still in that first flush and isn't really ready. Hasn't finished, coming to a point or becoming a full plant again. Those are all examples of overgrazing. So we don't have a danger of overgrazing in this dormant season because there's not regrowth happening from the roots. So overgrazing.
That's awesome.
Just think of grazing of the roots as overgrazing. So if the decision of your management was to take all of this, we could do that in this season because it's not actively trying to regrow. So we can make full use of that forage.
I love that because wintertime, everything's harder.
Yep.
So the fact that I don't need to worry about maybe necessarily putting a back line behind us or, just less worrying about things, letting the animals just kind of do their thing, that makes it real simple. But of course, we do want to make sure that the animals have enough food.
Right.
What will tell us that our stockpile is finished and now it's time to supplement and go on to the next thing, which we're going to talk about bale grazing?
Well, we're standing right here with a little bit of vegetation underneath our feet, but we can make a comparison over here. This is what's inside your perimeter fence right now.
I'm pretty sure the fence is off. Let's go through. All right. Cows have been here a while. We already have used up our stockpile. What are we looking for that tells us it's done?
Sure. I would say you're looking for coverage mostly. We don't want any exposed or bare soil showing. We want to keep that covered for insulation protection against the elements, erosion control, all that kind of stuff. And that's one of the unique things that, not to get ahead of myself, but bale grazing can offer is that even if we've done an extreme pruning in this dormant season, we're adding some cover back. Yeah, this would be, we're grazed, we're done for the dormant season.
I can see from here, just looking over there where we were a second ago, the stockpile, I don't see any mud, I don't see any dirt. Here and all around us, at a quick glance, I can see mud, right? Bare soil. So now I know we need more here. They're not going to get anything from this. It's time to move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
That makes sense. All right. So the next thing is bale grazing.
Bale grazing.
I'm a big fan of Greg Judy's videos.
Yep.
watching Greg Judy throughout the spring and through the summer, moving his animals in the lush fields, and oh, this is great, and listening to him talk about how much money you save when you're just grass-fed. And then wintertime came, and I'm watching them out in these ice storms, rolling out bales of hay and sometimes rolling them out by hand. He's got that fancy bale roller he uses most of the time, but I'm just thinking, like, who wants to bother? I can take my hay, throw it down in my barnyard, and I'm done. But then I was here for a season or two, and every spring cleanup day came, where I'm down in the barn, in the muck, in the 3 feet tall pile of wasted, ruined hay. And it started to click, you know what? All this waste, manure, ruined, spoiled hay, it's a problem down at my barn. But out here, it's not a problem.
Right.
Why would someone want to bother with this, Eli? What's the benefit of this?
I think there's quite a few benefits, honestly. I don't know about you. I hate fighting equipment in the winter months. Like tractors don't want to start, and that's never fun, because if you need a tractor, you need it to go do something that you can't physically do yourself. So depending on equipment in the winter is always frustrating in a colder climate. So we can actually minimize the number of days that we depend on a tractor or an equipment. You know, we can do setup days when the weather's still decent. Today we got a really mild day. This would be an awesome day for bringing in the next batch of bales and setting them up. So for just a couple days of prep with equipment, you could be using your tractor and park it for the winter if you needed to, because your bales are already where they need to be. So equipment is one thing. And second, I've done like the whole sacrifice area thing before, like you're describing your barnyard, and it gets messy. It's very dependent on the weather conditions as far as what you can get in there and do, because in that case, we are bringing equipment in frequently. So you can kind of get away from these muddy, messy, wasted areas and turn the waste or the litter and the manure into something that's actually going to benefit your soil.
That's what kind of convinced me. A couple seasons of watching the waste and just thinking this could be good. We need the nutrition out here. We need it. So I've been experimenting last couple days. Before you came, I wanted to try this. I wanted to see. And so we actually have a little bit of behind us, the trail of desolation. Why is this good for our pasture? Why do we want to see manure, old, what you could call, I mean, this is wasted hay. Why is this a good thing out in our pasture?
I mean, it's kind of interesting to look at this path and these couple paths where you've had bales. You can see a difference here versus the other parts of the pasture that aren't touched yet. So, you know, this we would call litter. This is litter, stuff that's just been returned to the soil surface. Mineral cycle is huge. Erosion is a big deal. So this helps with all that stuff. It's gonna lighten the impact of any kind of elements hitting the soil surface. The litter is gonna decompose. This is gonna feed the soil. We've got our manure, our fertilization is happening right here. You've got urine deposits. So I like to call this a direct deposit because what happens in our barnyard scenarios, we have this winter feeding area. We keep pushing manure off to the side, pushing manure, scraping the pad, whatever we're doing. And we're actually losing a lot of that nutrient value that the soil could be getting.
No way.
So
the time that it's sitting in the corner and getting rained on and washed, the minerals that are good, even if we eventually bring it up here, we're losing it if
it's going to be diluted.
No way.
If you do a direct deposit, you're keeping, you know, maybe this bale here, you might maintain a good 30 to 40% of the nitrogen value of the bale just by keeping it on, you know, the pasture instead of hauling it to the barn. And you're just going to have much more potency of all this up here on your pasture.
Plus, I don't have to take a day or two in the spring and get it up here. That was another big win. Another thing I like, tell us a little bit about, Eli, the idea of when you're using hay from someone else's farm. You know, this was an old hay field, but it's been literally decades since it was used for hay. What's the benefit of bringing in other people's hay?
So if you have the option to make hay for yourself, that's one thing. What I try to stay away from is cutting my own hay and then selling it or shipping it off somewhere else. And I think you'll hear guys like Greg Judy describe it as, you know, like mining your soil. You're taking something a resource that it has grown, cutting it, exporting it, and not giving anything back to it. No recoverage, no fertilization, no manure, nothing. You know, so if we can use our properties to graze for as long as we can and try to leverage some stockpile to do so, and then we bring in that hay nutrient value, both for the livestock and the soil, somebody else is making the choice to mine their soil, which is still unfortunate, and we need to try to close all loops there to fix the bigger part of the problem. But I'm gonna buy my hay in, I'm gonna bring it in from a trusted source, I'm gonna roll it out, I'm getting the value of their forage volume and the nutrition value through my animals back on the surface.
All right, good point there. Trusted source. I want you to look at my hay, tell me what it looks like, what are we looking for,
Sure.
what shows us this is a good bale.
Looking at this bale here, we're gonna unroll this bale today. I see a lot of green in here. I see a lot of different variety of grass, even if you just smell it. It smells good.
Let me smell.
It smells good.
Smells like nice, it smells like the hay loft, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, just looking at it, it's mostly leafy material. Sometimes you'll get really sticky stuff that came from a rougher pasture, things like that. What you're gonna benefit from, there's gonna be some seed pods in here, and I can see some that as we unroll this are gonna hit your surface and might actually do something growth-wise in the growing season.
Awesome.
So if you're bringing in less than desirable bales, you're gonna have some of those seed heads as well.
Okay. Yep.
So it goes both ways. You know, if you have a good trusted source where you're pulling your hay from, it's getting unrolled, you're getting the coverage, but you're also getting some seed deposits happening.
Which if you've gone to the feed store and bought a bag of seed, that's expensive.
Yep, yep.
When you add together, so okay, it is a little bit of work outside in the winter time, but you got to do that anyway on the farm. So instead of taking a day to clean out your sacrifice pen, and then taking another day to spread manure, which has now lost some of its value, and then taking another day to maybe rebroadcast some seed,
Yep.
you're doing everything all in one, and if you plan ahead, you don't even need to fire up the tractor.
Right.
You can walk out here, drive the gator, whatever you're doing, you can get on location, and in one swoop, with the help of your machinery, the heavy machinery in the form of Highland cattle or mini jerseys or whatever you got, take care of all that stuff, do bale grazing throughout the winter.
Yep.
That's why eventually I went from thinking I don't want to be bothered to wait a second, I'm already being bothered. I already have to do all this work.
Right.
I can do it all at once. And I much rather, me personally, I hate cleaning. I'd much rather spend my time grazing cattle than cleaning up after them.
Absolutely.
So let's do it, because I know I've been fumbling around with this for a couple days, making mistakes. I want you, the seasoned pro here, to show me what's the right way to bale graze? What do we need equipment-wise?
Sure.
Let's set up the dinner plate, because my cows are hungry.
Okay.
I really like vlogging with the professional film crew here. This is fancy. We got the drone pilot, we got the cameraman 1, camera B over there, the professional forage specialist. This is the way to do things. Any type of grazing, whether it's summer, winter, fall, spring, any season, there's a couple basic essentials we're gonna need for equipment.
Yeah.
Kencove, you guys are a fencing company. We couldn't have a better company to explain to us what essentials we need no matter what we're doing grazing wise. Eli, what pieces of the puzzle are we gonna make sure we have before we get into grazing anything really?
Sure, and that's really the beauty of it. A lot of these same products are being used in that active growing grazing season and then cycle right over to be used in the wintertime. So like behind us, we've got your high tensile fence as the main perimeter.
Yep.
Something to hook on, something to bookend our paddocks as we move. And then we've got reels with twine, step-in posts that we can be really flexible and really creative, making any kind of shape or construction that we need to for containment, but also controlling access to either forage that's growing or forage that we're gonna supply.
Now, this high tensile fence was a game changer for us. For years, we have been trying to graze our cows without a permanent perimeter fence. And we were very, very fortunate to partner with you guys this year at Kencove. Kencove sponsored this project, so this video is sponsored, helped us not only put up the fence, helped us design it with our rotational grazing plan in mind. having a strong, sturdy perimeter that doesn't get blown over in the winter, doesn't get buried by snow and knocked over,
Right.
allowed us to go from basically grazing only through the better, time of the year, grazing when the weather was good, and even then only grazing a couple well-trained cows, to now we're able to graze,
Right.
as we're showing today, all year long. And we have much larger beef cows, bulls, animals we were not comfortable putting out with a non-permanent perimeter. Now we're comfortable.
Sure.
What do we have here, Eli? The audience has just seen us use this throughout the spring and summer, but
Yep.
we haven't talked much about this design. Our perimeter fence, what is this?
So we got our treated wood posts. They're going to last you a lifetime. And we've got 6 strands of high tensile wire. This is Max 10 wire, highly rated for strength and durability. Class 3 galvanization, electroplated,
Awesome.
good stuff. It looks like you've got 4 strands that are hot, 2 are non-hot, and we have those set up strategically for how animals might try to challenge the fence or just test the fence and see how far they can reach under or whatever. So we've got that strategically electrified for you.
And I have to say, this design, one of the best things about you guys as a company, Kencove, the people you call up and talk to on the phone, they have animals,
Right.
They've been designing fences for animals for decades. Rick helped us with this project. This was his, I told him what animals we had,
Yeah.
and he designed this. So if you're watching at home and you're like, you know what, I want to do this, but I don't know what I need, Kencove can help.
Sure, absolutely.
So the perimeter fence is one piece of the puzzle. That's what allows us to have our animals actually out here, not escape. But to actually rotationally graze, we need a few more pieces of gear.
Yep.
What do you suggest somebody have gear-wise for rotational grazing?
In general, a step-in or temporary style post and a geared reel with some twine is going to help really have control and be specific about what they have access to.
Got it.
So here you can see a couple different options. This is Obrien's reel with some braided twine. We've got Obrien step-in posts with a metal spike, which are awesome in the wintertime.
Yeah, yep.
That metal spike is thin. It can really get in the frozen ground and stick. We've got some Kiwitech stuff, mini reel, and fiberglass posts with pre-assembled clips on them. So you can use a variety of anything. It's going to be finding what works for you, what works for your ground conditions. We've kind of alluded to this, me and you talking. I like to use the colored posts in the wintertime. Like if we do get snow this weekend, instead of having white posts out there on a white landscape,
Yep.
the blue posts give them a visual marker of, hey, here's the line. And you can also do that with your twine. Sometimes I'll put up 2 strands. One will be the regular white twine, for days like this where it's bare ground, they can see that really easily. But then if snow does sneak up on us, I can have like an orange or a black twine that gives a little bit of a color
Oh, nice.
contrast on the snow.
Yep.
Because oftentimes if they're trained to mobile and portable fence like that, if they can see it, they're not going to mess with it.
Yep.
So if they can see it before they actually engage the fence, that's best case scenario.
We have a couple different reels you mentioned. This is the one that we're using most of the time here. This is the Obrien geared reel.
Yep.
You brought a couple more lightweight models. Why would somebody pick this versus one of those?
Sure. So with the geared reel, we've got a 3-to-1 ratio. So you're getting 3 spins for every crank of the handle. It's going to save you a little bit less work. Your arm's not going to be sore at the end of the day or anything like that. This is a little bit more weight to it, a little bit beefier. If this would be great for your perimeter fence, hooking on there, your wires can hold the weight of this geared reel. If you have something more temporary or a lighter weight exterior fence, something like a mini reel or the Kiwitech that are very light on their feet, so to say, can hang on that a lot easier and not really pull posts and stretch twine. So
That's a big part of this design. When we were testing this out here, and we talk about this in a video that we actually filmed on Kencove's channel. So if you guys don't already follow Kencove's YouTube channel, check that out. We filmed a different video about designing this. And one of the things I mentioned was how we set up a temporary step-in post version of this. And I was not able to use geared reels because they were too heavy on the step-in post and twine. So we had to use more lightweight reels. Knowing what we wanted and what we liked, we were able to put in the high tensile fence, which could hold these reels. And the amount of time that this has saved me, this is a big one. If you want to do this, but you're a weekend warrior, you got to do the farm chores before you go to work in the morning, being able, and we'll show you as we set this up, being able to hang a geared reel on a high tensile perimeter, unlock your reel, walk out your strip in 10 minutes before work, I can have this done.
Yep.
And I do. It just takes me 10 minutes a day and we're done.
Yep.
So that's in the summertime. Now we're bale grazing. It takes a little longer because we're going to roll out some hay here. I think it's about time we actually start getting some work done here.
Yeah.
We got the hay bale ready to go, Eli. Shall we actually roll this out and let the cows come have some lunch? All right, let's get to work. We used to just drop this in the middle of the paddocks. We could just drop the round bale in the middle of the field. I notice on your Instagram account, you're always rolling it out. Greg Judy's rolling it out. Yeah. Why take the time to roll out the round bale?
There are both camps and guys do both. You can just set this down for less man hours. Like you and I are about to roll this out. So it's going to take at least one guy, maybe two guys, depending on your bale size. So you could just drop this as is and let them come self-feed right at these bales. If you did that, you're probably looking at a 20 to 40 foot spacing, depending on how dense you want an area to be disturbed or litter with manure and hay. So you can go that route. I chose to unroll for a couple reasons. It gets more mouths around the same bale at one time, so there's less competition and pushing, and everybody's getting a more well-rounded meal in that sense. So that works for me, and you've got some highlands like I do, so the horns, there's some lost surface area there as they're jockeying for space at the bale. Another great thing I like about unrolling is that I cover more of my pasture. That same surface area that acts as a feed trough is the soil getting covered as well.
You can see looking down, like I said, I've been playing with this for the last couple of days, knowing you were coming. I wanted to try it out and see what questions I would have, what was hard, what was easy. When you look down these strips that we've unrolled, you can see manure down the entire strip, litter down the entire strip versus the pasture that we haven't been bale grazing. Very scattered manure, no litter. It definitely has done a better job of covering the entire section.
And the opposite is true as well. I found that if I just fed whole bales sitting in place like this, some of them might get too much manure, too much urine, they're fouled, and I have this big heap of litter that's left that now I have to spread by hand or machine, otherwise I have a dead spot in my pasture the next year until it decomposes and goes away. But that way the animals do all the spreading for me.
It's the same as what we were talking before. Work now or work later. You have to do this work, spreading it now. We're out here, there's no snow on the ground. The other day we were out here, there was a little bit of snow. We were able to roll it on the top of the snow. I remember hearing guys talk about rolling these bales, and I wondered, can you even physically roll one, just one guy out in the pasture? Now I know you can. I do choose to roll downhill. Any tricks to making this easier? What do guys got to consider before they start rolling these things out?
So there'd be a couple things I would suggest upon setting bales out. Try to set them at their initial spot. Try to pick a direction you can roll downhill if at all possible. That'd be great. When I set them out, if I'm not sure that this is their final destination, I'll leave the net or whatever kind of binding is on them. If I'm pretty sure they're going to get unrolled right here, I'll go ahead and cut that netting. And try to get it out from underneath it, because sometimes just the netting getting frozen to the ground makes it really hard to rock that bale and get it started. So you can eliminate some of that right off the bat by pre-cutting and removing some netting, but you want to drop them as close to where you're going to start as possible.
And you already mentioned this, but having them lined up, day 1, day 3, day 6, I could, if I wanted to, all the way down this pasture. Do you need covered bales if you're going long term with that? Can you have uncovered bales out in the elements?
You can do uncovered. You might have a layer that might just be trampled or bedding or whatever that has kind of lost its touch there, but everything underneath that should be okay depending on the quality of the bale.
I know wrap bales are going to be a bit more expensive, so there's that, but then you have less waste, so that's something to consider. Is there a technique to dropping the bale where directionally it will unroll easier? How do you figure out that?
Usually you'll kind of figure it out in the first couple flops or rolls if you're rolling the right direction. There's usually one way, depending on the baler, there's usually one way that it's going to unroll more naturally.
Like a cinnamon bun, you got to go the right direction.
Exactly. And just to clarify, I don't unroll all my bales at the same time. They stay whole until I'm ready for that section, and then I'll go out and unroll it. That way it's not getting buried by snow, for one thing. It's not getting rained on. The whole bale is not getting rained on and exposed to rain. or if it were to rain and freeze, I'm not moving the cows into something that they're munching on hard frozen hay. I'm still able to unroll something that's soft and light and really easy for them to get into.
So we could put 10 of these out, but we'd only want to unroll enough for a couple days, a single day, a week. What's the idea there?
Whatever your management schedule allows you to do, really.
Okay.
So yeah, it's very touch and go, just context, whatever you need to do, make it work for you. But just some tips. Obviously there's 100 ways to do it. But.
Well, let's start unrolling. Show us how the pros do it.
Do you have a knife? I've got a knife.
I forgot my knife.
I got a knife.
It's like a warm day and I didn't have my overalls. So I keep my knife in my overalls ready to go. But again, the pros are here to save us today.
So what I tend to do, like with netting, if this were netting, I would cut it up here in the front so that as I roll the bale, it gets over the netting right away.
Got it.
So we can just do that for practice. You've got strings, not netting, so we're just gonna pop these off. Make sure we gather up all of our netting and string. We don't want animals eating that. We don't want other wildlife getting tangled up or anything like that.
Start pulling at those.
Okay, we'll give it a roll and see if we're going the right direction.
Now obviously this isn't like a perfect tire, so let's see if we can go straight down the hill here.
We'll let some strings as we go. Make sure we get them all. Ready?
Yep.
We're just watching to see if we're leaving it actually behind us as we go, which we are.
There we go. All right. Rolling out's done. Obviously, if we just left it like that, the cows would come and they'd eat, they'd be happy.
Yep.
Why bother even putting in any electric fencing in the front and the back? What are the pros and cons of that?
Sure. Well, the electric fence is going to control what they have access to. So if we have more bales set up ready for future days, it keeps them from getting into that.
Yep.
Kind of what we've had a little bit of freeze and thaw, so you might get some wet areas that you want to keep them out of so they don't get really pugged up in the winter. You can take some cross sections and really isolate areas you don't want them in. And it also just controls how skinny of an area that they are dropping that manure and urine. So getting really concentrated areas of deposits.
One of the things we've been doing in our testing rounds here, we've actually been splitting it in half with the front line here, allowing the animals to eat on the one end without getting to access to the width of the row, preventing them from pooping on the hay so much.
Gotcha.
Because we found the first day or two there was a lot of poop on it, a little too early than what we wanted.
They like to walk on it as well. So. Yeah, but then a water source is also the other consideration.
Yep.
You guys are moving this way for water, so we don't have a back line up to let them get to water. If you're moving water with you, that can be a little bit different. Typically, guys will start close to the water source and bale graze away from it. That way the extra litter and stuff really gets worked in and kicked around as they travel back and forth.
Ah, that's a good point. So for us, our water source was in the middle of this field for a while. We'd want to bale graze in two directions, and having a front and a back line would keep everybody going the right direction.
You could.
So now if we want to set up, which we do, we want to set up a line to keep everybody on this side.
Yep.
Another benefit to having the front line we have found is whenever I bring a new bale in, I got Highlands with horns, I got a bull out here, everybody comes running at the tractor.
Yeah.
And I don't want to work around a bunch of hungry cattle.
Right.
I want to be able to get everything ready and roll out the next bale without being attacked. So having that front line there has literally given us, even right now, they're right there, they're watching us, they want to get in and eat, but it's allowing us to work. So we're going to set that up. To get that, you know, our stepping posts, our geared reels. What do you suggest we use for this, Eli? What's the right setup here?
We got snow coming. I say we go ahead and use the blue posts in case we do get that snow.
Okay.
That way we got the contrasting color they can see. You guys are good with one strand?
Yeah.
Everybody's behaving with one strand?
Yep, everybody's been good with one strand.
We'll just put up a strand.
We'll see tomorrow. Now, I don't know if you can tell on camera, it is raining, but it's starting to turn almost a little sleety, hopefully snowy. This would be a really epic, like, winter grazing video if this would turn to snow. Otherwise, it's gonna be wet and cold. I've been experimenting a couple days with this, Eli. We found one whole round bale was too much for our cows. They were wasting it.
Okay.
So I'd like to run a line down the middle so that they only can eat about half of the bale today, tomorrow, and then the second half the next day.
Portion control.
How do we want to set this up? What's the right way to put the reels on?
Sure.
We got a hot wire, a not hot wire, and then a hot wire. Show us the right way to do this.
Sure, we'll just, we'll go ahead and use this as the handle or the hook end, and then we'll hang the reel at the lower end when we get down there. So here we have an insulated handle. This is your reel, and we'll just pick our hot strand, and basically we can give this a wrap around to get the electric contact, and then you can just hang here, hang up here, whatever you want to do.
Gotcha.
The other option, we've got like the Zammr handles that have the electrified hook and the insulated hook.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
I love that.
if we need to adjust before we're finished, we can just hang it on the insulated hook. That way you're not getting shocked while you're grabbing this. And then when you're ready to go live, you can just back it off and put it on the metal.
Now we're fortunate here. We got multi-strand, we got a not hot wire and then hot wire, so we could also hook to the not hot wire. But I like that because I can't tell you how many mornings I forget to turn the fence off.
Yeah.
And I come up here and you're working in high, you know, in the summertime, high wet grass in the morning.
Yep.
That shock's no fun. So that Zammr handle, as soon as we're done filming this, I'm going inside, I'm gonna order one of those. And you guys, if any of this equipment you need, check out Kencove's website, give them a call, you can order on the phone. Great to work with, awesome quality stuff. So we'll have links below to all the gear and of course to Kencove's website.
Thanks,
so
man.
check that stuff out.
Cool.
All right, let's put this up.
All right, I'm gonna pay this out. So we got our latch here is gonna let us free spin off of here. We got a good tug. And I'm just gonna pay out. I'm gonna let you put the posts in where you want them.
Great, yeah, sounds good.
So we're gonna follow the hay here in this situation. Typically when I pay out the wire, I'll string the wire first and let it be my straight line guide. And then when I put my posts in line, they're perfect line. So just whatever you need to do to fit your situation.
All right, I've been working with this stuff, but again, you guys are here to show me the right way to use these. Any tricks? Which side of the stepping post, Eli? What's the right way to use this for this
Sure.
job?
If the animals are going to be accessing from this side, I'm going to have this foot pedal facing away. Whatever clips we're hooking to are going to be facing towards them. This backside is going to be for tape applications. This is more so for your wire and poly wire like we're using.
Okay.
What height setting do you guys like? Which one are you at?
This is a good question for anybody watching. I mean, these posts here have a lot of options. We have found when we're working with these cattle here, that height right there keeps them from under and over.
Okay, yep.
Now,
Gotcha.
when we're working, you at your homes or you at your farm, you got a lot of different species you're grazing. So what do you suggest for other animals?
I've got cattle and sheep together, so I usually use this next to top one, and then kind of one of these bottom ones to keep the sheep from going under something.
Got it.
So that's usually what I use with the cattle. The Highlands, I've got Highlands, I'm either this one or this one if it's just cattle by themselves.
Got it. And now you're working just simple, these stepping posts. Not all stepping posts are created equal.
Yeah.
I can confess, I've used many brands over the years homesteading. These ones are really easy. We have notoriously hard ground here on this farm. We got shale everywhere. And then obviously in the winter, it's cold.
Freeze.
Some plastics get brittle. I really like the size of this stepping post. You actually have enough of a platform there to put your foot on, really get it in there good. I can't tell you how many different brands I've used where you go to step in the winter, crack. Just earlier I was showing him some of the old posts we used to use and how they would snap. So great quality stuff, stays good. And then we're working down here, we're just gonna pop it in like this.
Yep.
And
That's
ready
fine.
to
If
go.
you're doing an on-the-go method, you can just kind of hook it
Oh, I like that.
and go.
That's fancy right there.
And I actually give a little bit of an extra rotation, Austin, just to, like if it's straight on and you get some excessive pressure, under the right circumstances, it could pop maybe.
Oh, okay.
So I give an extra twist to make that claw wrap around even more, just so that, you know, nothing's gonna get around that hook in that direction.
Pro tip. That's why we bring in the specialist here. That's a pro tip. I like that. All right, now I got to try that. The quick quick step in post twist. Hook up. And spacing wise, Eli, what do you suggest as far as, you know, post to post?
Yeah.
What works?
Post to post is going to depend a little bit on your animals in particular, how much pressure they're prone to put against the fence.
Got it.
Or if you got more like sheep like I do, they're going to test the fence a little bit more. I need a little bit tighter spacing, but you know, we're looking pretty good here. I don't know, is that 25 feet, something like that? That should be fine. You know, that should be good, especially for your application. So it's going to vary a little bit, but probably in that 15 to 30 feet, I would imagine.
Yep. And being able to hook it up to the high tensile and really tighten that reel definitely helps versus step and post and twine at the end, or you know, something a little more lightweight. Maybe we'd have to be closer.
Right.
This thing, we can really crank it. So get through this thick hay here and give it the little Eli twist there. There we go.
Beautiful.
Perfect. I got it. All right, cool. All right, I'm ready. Is Mack Farms hiring?
Yeah.
Okay, normally I've come out here and I've hung my reel at the beginning and I've worked with the handle, pulled it to this end and hooked it up. I notice, as you said at the beginning, you like to take the reel and work with the reel. Why is that, Eli?
I guess for me, as it's paying out, if there's any complications, it's going to be on how this is unraveling. So then I have it right in front of me to fix it. And when I get to the end, I'm ready to set the tension with the reel.
Right.
Otherwise, I can only hook the handle and then I have to go back up and set the tension. So
I'm so glad you are here, man. I can't tell you how many times this week I've been out here and like hooking it up and it's too loose and the cows are slipping under and I'm like, and it's something simple like that. Use the reel, put the handle. Plus, we don't have a fancy Zammr handle yet. We're gonna order ours from Kencove. That handle down there is non-insulated. I could hook that up to the hot wire down there or the cold wire, wherever. Work with a wire that was not hot, get down here, and now if I have this set up right, which you can show us how to do this, the minute I attach the reel to the high tensile perimeter, it goes live.
Sure.
How does that work on this reel? Explain how this thing, how to hook it up right.
This little metal hoop here on the outside of the bobbin actually goes to the middle. It goes, that's what the twine's wrapping around.
Got it.
So if you want this reel to be hot or electrified as soon as you hook this on the fence, you just need to make a little jumper wire that goes from this metal frame to this hoop.
Okay, yep.
Then everything that touches that hoop, which would be the twine, is going to be electrified when this is electrified.
You put it there.
Right.
But if I have an insulated handle down there while I'm working and the reel in my hand, I can work with it. It won't be hot. I will then hook it on, walk away, and it's live.
Yep.
I love that. That's what I wanted. I couldn't figure out how to do it because I'm a newbie out here. That's why Eli's here.
That guy right there. That's what you want to do.
All right, so just take a little wire, hook it from here to here, and we're good to go.
Yep.
And that's this hook here is made to hang on high tensile.
Yeah.
Any other uses for that guy there?
I mean, you could put it around a post if you had to. It's wide enough you can get around a couple different material types.
Cool.
Step-in posts or fiberglass.
We've been, when I put a new section up like around the perimeter here, I've been hooking that to the UTV, the gator we have, unlocking the reel, driving, you know, if we got a long stretch to do, one of us drives the UTV while the other does the stepping posts. That's been working really nice too. So nice feature. Explain the lock system here, because we haven't shown that yet.
Sure.
What's that for and how do they use that?
This is our lock. When we're paying out, it's just kind of held out of the way by this tab. But when we're ready to lock the tension in, we just get it past that tab, and it's going to catch one of these teeth down here, which doesn't allow your bobbin to pay out anymore. When it's up here, this is just a free spin. So when we're ready to lock the tension, we can just set it at, you know, whatever we think our pull is going to be, and maybe right there would be a good setting. If you want a little bit extra tension, you could even get to there. And then that's going to hold our tension while we walk away from the fence.
We got the hay rolled out, we got our stepping posts in, our twine is ready. It's time to serve the cows lunch. Let's call them in. Come on, cows! Woo! Come on, cows. Now, obviously we're out here filming, we're working, and this took 8 times as long as it normally does. That's the way YouTubing works. If I were to come out and do this in the morning, I've been doing it the last, the last week or so, just practicing. And I didn't know all the tricks you taught me today, so it took me a little bit longer, but really 10 minutes or less. Rolling the hay out adds a little extra time to that. In the summertime, I can do all my grazing, all my moves in 10 minutes or less. If you got to roll out a bale of hay, add the extra, 10 minutes it takes you to roll out the bale of hay or whatever it is. The point is, if you're a weekend warrior, if you're a homesteader who has a full-time job, you are a perfect example. If you haven't seen the video we did with Eli, we'll have a link to that. You can check that one out. We went to Mack Farms and you showed us your routine using Kencove products, perimeter fence, strip grazing. You do that before you go to work at Kencove all day long. Every day you get your moves in, and you're doing daily moves, right? Yeah, so with the right design and the right equipment, you can save money, improve your pastures, enjoy working with your livestock, have way less to clean. That's what converted me. I hate cleaning the barn. All this, it just takes a little bit of practice, a little bit of know-how, and the right tools. And the right tools is where Kencove comes in. So again, guys, Kencove has partnered with us on this project. Give them a call. They can help you design this system. Your guys' sales staff, I remember we were at a Kencove get-together not too long ago. Everybody's got animals. You're sitting talking goats and you're talking sheep. So when someone calls you up and says, hey, I have a bunch of goats, they're escape artists, what do I do fencing-wise? You guys can help.
We use the products. We live it. That's the kind of lifestyle we like to have personally, and everybody there's got a pretty good working knowledge of the product. So
Eli works on their marketing team, starts his day off moving Highland cattle, then goes to work for the fencing company. This is the way this company is. So I cannot say enough good things about Kencove. The design process, Kencove is there to help. Give them a call. These are people who know animals and work with animals. When it comes to designing this setup here, I know for me, I'm not a real handy person. I didn't grow up on a farm, so I was super overwhelmed by what I even had to consider in this design. And a high tensile perimeter fence is pretty permanent. You want to make sure you get it right. So for those of you who want to do something like this but don't even know where to start, we got some plans. We're going to get you on a live stream here on YouTube, live stream, where you can answer the questions. We're going to talk about how to design your perimeter fence, and then if you're watching live, you'll be able to ask Eli questions live, and we'll cover all that. So to make sure you don't miss that, we'll have a link below to our email list. Sign up to the email list and we'll give you a heads up when we're going to do that live stream. I went to you guys when I wanted to partner with the fencing company. We were customers in the past. We had purchased products on our own, and I said, you know what, this is a quality company. They make good stuff, and they're a Pennsylvania brand, our neighbors in PA. So check out Kencove's website, kencove.com. You guys also have a YouTube channel where you did a video not too long ago here where we talked about this project. So you can learn more about our design, the design process. I share a really good tip with any of you who've maybe got some concerns and you're not sure what to do for a fencing design. I got a great tip for you there. So if you want to see that video, click right there to head over to Kencove's YouTube channel and make sure to give Kencove a call. They can help you design your system and they got all the gear you need and it's awesome quality stuff. So thanks so much guys for coming today. Eli, this was a huge help, man. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.